Hey there, clever masterminds, it's your homeboy, Clever Boy He6, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 3, titled The Cell. So, I've had a cold since Saturday, so that's why it's taken me so long to get this review done for you guys, but it's getting close to the weekend. But I needed to do this review for you guys so I could do the predictions video for episode 4, which I'm going to do tomorrow. But anyways, please bear with me throughout this review. But anyways, if you have not seen this episode yet, don't watch this review because I'm going to spoil this episode for you guys. So if you haven't seen it yet, don't watch this review. But anyways, so the cell focused on the sanctuary. We got to see the sanctuary for the first time. We got some stuff with Negan and Daryl, and we got to see what was going on with Daryl and Dwight. So this was a pretty interesting episode, and yeah. So anyways, let's get started. So the opening for this episode was kind of weird. It was just like it skipped around a lot. We saw Dwight watching TV, and he played air hockey with another savior, who I don't know her name, but it was a female savior, and they were playing air hockey, and Dwight carved like these wooden figurines. So yeah, the opening for this episode just really skipped around a lot, so that was kind of weird because The Walking Dead, they don't really do that with like openings to episodes. So yeah, it was kind of weird to see for this episode. But anyways, in the marketplace, Dwight sees the saviors beat a man to death who got into an argument with one of the workers. Dwight takes some tomatoes from the vegetable garden and some eggs from the chicken coop and fixes himself an egg salad sandwich. And he watches two of the workers wrangle a walker and chain it to the fence, which is encrusted with walkers. And so the reason why they do this is so if the sanctuary got attacked by like another group, then they would unleash all of these walkers on them. So that's why they keep them chained up, so they could use them as weapons, basically, if they were ever attacked by another group. So after that, Dwight puts some dog food on bread and makes like a dog food sandwich, which Daryl eats. And yeah, he eats many of those throughout this episode. Just, it's disgusting to see Daryl eating these like dog food sandwiches. Yeah, it's just so he gives it to Daryl, who's in the cell, and he is naked. He's just sitting in the cell, and yeah, it's crazy to see Daryl, who's one of the strongest, if not the strongest survivor of the group, reduced to a prisoner who's living under these conditions. It's pretty crazy to see, and yeah, so anyways, after that we see Dwight give him another dog food sandwich, and he also gives Daryl some clothes. So Dwight takes Daryl out of his cell and takes him to Dr. Carson, who's the doctor at the sanctuary. So Dr. Carson has just finished examining Sherry, who's a character that we haven't seen since early on in Season 6. Episode 6, I believe? Yeah, I think it was Episode 6, where Daryl first met Dwight and Sherry and Tina, which was the blonde woman who actually died in that episode. But Sherry tries to talk to Daryl, and Dwight forbids her to talk to him. She tells Dwight that her pregnancy test was negative, and after that she tells Daryl as she's walking out just to do what he's told. Dr. Carson takes a look at Daryl's injured shoulder and assures him that Negan will take care of him. And after that, Dwight's leading Daryl back to his cell, and Negan pulls him aside to talk. And one of the saviors, I forget his name, but he holds Daryl at gunpoint. So Dwight takes Daryl outside to show him the walkers that are being chained up, and one of them is the red-haired man that the saviors beat to death at the beginning of the episode. And he says Daryl will be forced to work in the yard if he doesn't make the right choices. But Anyways, so we see Daryl in the cell, and they're playing the song Easy Street, and so they're basically playing this music really loudly and keeping Daryl awake and forcing him to listen to it over and over again. One thing that I didn't really like about the episode was that I felt like they showed too much of Daryl in the cell. And, I mean, like, we get it. He's trapped in the cell, and he's in, terrible place right now. And, I mean, I felt like they showed too much of that. But that's just how I feel. I don't know if any of you guys feel the same way. But, yeah, I just figured I'd point out that in the review. I just felt like they showed too much of Daryl being trapped in this cell. But, yeah. So, anyways, Negan tells Dwight that it's working, but it's going slow. And he says that some people are harder to break than others because Negan really enjoys breaking people, as we saw in the season 7 premiere. That episode was all about Negan breaking Rick after killing Abraham and Glenn. It was just all about Rick being broken by Negan, and Negan really enjoys breaking people down, and that is what he's doing with Daryl. And, yeah, so anyways, so he commends Dwight and offers him to sleep with one of Negan's wives, because Negan has many wives. Like, he took Dwight's wife, which was Sherry, and he basically took everything from Dwight, and he takes people's wives. And so he tells Dwight that he can sleep with one of his wives, and Dwight politely declines, which angers Negan. But a voice comes on the walkie-talkie notifying them of a runaway worker who we do see later on the episode, and Dwight goes out on his motorcycle. I thought it was Daryl's motorcycle that he left on, but it was actually Dwight's. But anyways, he leaves on his motorcycle, and back in Daryl's cell, one of the saviors brings him another dog food sandwich, and he leaves the door unlocked, and Daryl sees a chance to escape. So he leaves through the unlocked door of his cell. So Daryl creeps down the hallway, and Sherry finds him and tells him to go back to his cell because he's not going to be able to escape. And when Negan finds him, it's only going to be worse. But Daryl tries to escape anyway. So he makes it outside, and he sees these motorcycles. So he's going to take one. He's going to go back to Alexandria, leave the sanctuary. But of course, it does not go well, and the saviors find him. They surround him, and they have him at gunpoint. And Negan comes out, and he basically points his bat at like one of the saviors and says, "Who are you?" And the savior says Negan, and he points his bat at another savior, and he asks who the savior is, and the savior replies, "Negan," and he tells Daryl that he is everywhere, and then he swings Lucille at Daryl's head, stopping just short of hitting him, and Daryl doesn't even flinch, and Negan says, "You don't scare easy," and he says that, lucky for Daryl, Lucille isn't that thirsty, but he is, and there's just like, it was just such an intense scene, and then Negan says, "So I'm gonna go get me a drink," and he leaves as the saviors start beating Daryl up. So it was just so intense. Like, I literally thought Daryl was gonna get Lucille, because I mean, in the season 7 premiere, Negan killed Abraham and Glenn, and so I was really worried for Daryl throughout this episode, because I thought, maybe Daryl could die. I don't really know with Negan, So yeah. Anyways, so we see what's going on with Dwight. Dwight walks his motorcycle through a herd of maimed walkers on the sidewalk. So I really liked the special effects for this scene. We saw like one walker with its arm falling off. We saw walkers, like on the ground with body parts missing. So I liked the special effects for this scene. And a walker falls from the overpass above, and Dwight struggles with it before eventually shooting it in the head. And he sees the runaway worker, who apparently his name is Gordon. I don't think it was said in the episode, but it says on the Walking Dead wiki that his name was Gordon, so we're just going to go with that. So he sees Gordon, and Dwight tackles Gordon to the ground. And back at the sanctuary, we see Sherry stop by Daryl's cell, and she apologizes for stealing his crossbow and motorcycle back in the woods in that episode in season 6. But anyways, after that, we see Dwight leading Gordon back to the sanctuary, and Gordon asks Dwight why they let Negan terrorize all of them when Negan's just one man, and Gordon begs Dwight to just shoot him, and he says that there's nothing for him at the sanctuary, but Dwight refuses, and Gordon finally agrees to return to the sanctuary after Dwight threatens his loved ones. And as Gordon starts walking, Dwight pulls out his gun and shoots Gordon in the back. And after that, we see Dwight return to the sanctuary, and him and Sherry are smoking cigarettes in the hallway. Dwight asks Sherry if Negan is good to her, and Sherry says yes. And Dwight says that they did the right thing, and it's a hell of a lot better than being dead. And Dwight goes to Daryl's cell and brings him another dog food sandwich and a gruesome Polaroid that had a picture of what was left of Glenn's head after he was beaten in. And so basically, saviors take pictures of Negan's victims after they're killed. We saw this back in season 6 when Rick and the survivors went to the Savior's compound, and Glenn saw that bulletin board with all the Polaroids of Negan's victims after they were killed on it. And so Dwight tells Daryl that he got his friend killed, because in the season 7 premiere, Daryl punched Negan in the face, and Negan bashed Glenn's head in as a result. And so we just see Daryl crying, and he throws the Polaroid to the floor, and he's just crying. So yeah, it was pretty hard to watch Daryl in this position for this episode. But after that, Dwight takes Daryl to an efficiency apartment where Negan awaits him. Negan explains to Daryl how Dwight became one of his top men, and it was because Sherry, who's Dwight's wife, and Sherry's sister Tina, who died in season 6, they used to work for points, and when Tina fell behind on points on account of her costly medication, which was insulin because she had diabetes, which we saw back in season 6, and Negan asked her to marry him, but Dwight, Sherry, and Tina stole the medicine and ran away, and they returned after Tina's death, and Dwight asked Negan for forgiveness and begged him not to kill Sherry. And Sherry offered to marry Negan if Negan let Dwight live, so Negan agreed, and he burned Dwight's face with an iron. So I hope we get to see that scene in a flashback. I think that would be cool to see that scene in the television series where Negan burns Dwight's face with an iron, but I don't know if we will. But anyways, so Negan says that Dwight's been on board ever since, and Negan tells Daryl that he can be one of his top men if he answers one question. And Negan asks Daryl, who is he? And there's this long silence before Daryl responds with his own name, because Negan wanted him to say Negan, which meant that Daryl was a part of the Saviors. So Dwight takes Daryl back to his cell and yells at him for jeopardizing his own life, and Daryl says, I get why you did it, why you took it, referring to the medicine that he took when him and Sherry and Tina ran away. And Daryl says, you were thinking about someone else, that's why I can't. We see Dwight outside, and he chucks an empty beer bottle, and he's watching two workers secure a new walker to the fence line, and it's Gordon, the savior that he shot, and we see Gordon clawing at the fence, and that's how the episode ends. So yeah, anyways, this was a pretty good episode. Like I said, I feel like they showed too much of Daryl being trapped in the cell But nonetheless, it was still a good episode, and to give this a rating out of 10, I'm going to give this an 8.6 out of 10. So yeah, anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'll have my predictions video for episode 4 tomorrow, which is going to be focusing just on Rick and the people at Alexandria, and Negan's going to be paying a visit to Alexandria, and is going to be bringing Daryl, so I don't know. I don't think Negan's just going to turn Daryl over to the group. Maybe he'll use Daryl to threaten the group, yeah, I don't know, but I'll do my predictions video for episode 4 tomorrow. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'll see you all for the next one. Alright, bye guys.